Alright guys, it is day 2 of working on the headlight covers for the Pontiac Fiero Ferrari kit car. It's raining out a little bit today, so later on I gotta fix the carport because I got a bunch of holes and rips from the big windstorm. So yeah, car's all fired up. Just waiting on the throttle position sensor to come in because it's got a kind of erratic throttle. But it's coming together. All right, let's go ahead, grab a screwdriver, remove both these lexan headlight covers, and then I'm gonna trim them with a jigsaw to where our template ends. And if I have some black spray paint, I'll go ahead and spray the border on the back side of the lexan just to give you an idea of how the headlights are going to look. These are just my kind of template test headlight covers. Once I'm happy with my final shape and design, I'm going to go ahead and buy a new sheet of lexan and make some brand new headlight covers. And on the real car, believe it or not, they actually have screws that hold the covers into place. I might go ahead and do rivets, or I may even urethane these into place, but preferably I'd like to have them to be removable. That way if I ever get a rock chip and they crack, I can easily remove them and cut some new ones. So let's go ahead, remove these headlight covers and jigsaw them out. There you have it guys, I got the headlight covers removed. So you can see it's just the bare buckets. My question to you guys is, I have the opportunity when I paint the car to do the headlight buckets like a satin black or to leave them body color. So comment below, let me know what you guys think I should do, whether I should leave them red or if I should do them black. Black might make them look a little bit better, but I've seen the real car with the red buckets and the black trim on the lexan covers and that looks pretty good. So I don't know, comment below. So let's go ahead, grab the jigsaw and remove all this excess material that we don't need. All right, step 1. Got my templates on top of my lexan. Just gonna go ahead and tape these down where they gotta be. I'll grab a marker, I'll mark out my outline on the bottom edge, and then I'll put tape on both sides of that mark. That way, when I take my jigsaw and I'm cutting through that line, it's not pulling up the tape and giving me a hard line to see. It's going to give me about a 1 millimeter, or for you Americans out there, a 1/16 line with no tape on it that I can follow and that won't scratch up my plexiglass. Again, these are just templates. These are my test ones. So if I do scratch them, I'm not too worried about it. Let's go ahead, tape it up, cut it out. So you can see what I mean by giving yourself about a 1 millimeter or a 1/16 inch gap all the way around here, because your jigsaw blade is about that wide. And if you were just to tape this all up and then do your mark on top of it, when you're cutting, the blade's gonna pull the tape up and it's gonna be hard to see your line. So this is a little trick of the trade. Just give yourself enough room for the blade to kind of fit behind there. And that way when you're cutting, you got a nice straight line that guides your blade and you're not gonna have a hard time seeing your line. Let's go ahead and cut this one out. You're gonna wanna go ahead and put down a cloth or a rag to help protect your lexan. Even though this is just a template and I don't care if it gets scratched, it's good to kind of just test it out to see how it's gonna work out when I get the good new sheet of lexan. And then what you're gonna wanna do, grab yourself some clamps and just clamp it down. All right, so that ain't going anywhere. Let's go ahead, cut it out. And just a little reminder, make sure if you're doing any cutting, metal, plexiglass, whatever, put on your safety glasses, guys. Well guys, I'm cutting this lexan with a dull jigsaw blade, and that's because of the whole pandemic's going on with this virus, and I really don't feel like going to the hardware store and picking up some new blades. But these blades are working just great. I'm making do with what I have. This is a home building DIY kind of tutorial too, so you know, use what you got. There's a million different ways that you can cut your lexan. In my case, this is working perfect, and I'll show you what I'm working with here. And the blade just heated up the plastic when I was cutting it, so that's why I had to snap it off at the end. No big deal. I'm gonna take a sander and a file to this just to clean it up. But you can see how my tape did not chip up while I was cutting. So leaving that 1/16 1 millimeter gap is super handy. All right, I'm gonna peel off that tape. See how it turned out. One done, cut out the second one, and if I can find some paint, then I'll go ahead and spray the border around the edges. So let's go ahead, we'll mask off both the headlights, then I'm gonna primer kind of both these two areas, because right now it's really hard to get a visual of how the headlights are gonna look with all this patchiness of the black primer and the paint. So let's go ahead, primer these up, and that'll give us a better idea of how the buckets are gonna look. That's gonna look way better to give me an idea of how the headlight buckets with the trim is gonna look when I put them back on. So that's one coat. I did a very light mist coat. Gonna let that tack up, then I'll do a second coat. I still gotta go over the whole car and give it one last final sand before it goes into paint, but you can see it's pouring rain outside and the car is getting just soaked. So once we get some better weather, I can fix the carport, do all the final body work, and get it into paint. All right guys, while I'm waiting for the primer to dry up before I do the second coat, I'm gonna go ahead and take the time just to trace out my template onto the back side of the Lexan headlight cover. Then I'm gonna go ahead, scuff the edging up. I'm gonna apply some black paint. The only black paint I had was some old Rustoleum. We'll see how it comes out. If it works, great. If it doesn't, I ain't going to the store during this whole pandemic virus thing. Bada bing, bada boom, guys. Got the outline all traced out. I'm gonna get some paper, mask off the inside, scuff up the outer edge, see if that black paint I got will stick. I just grabbed some 180 grit sandpaper and scuffed it up. Don't know if that's gonna be the best grit to use if you're gonna see these lines once I spray it black. So on the actual ones, I'll probably go ahead and maybe just wet sand that or scuff it up with like a Scotch-Brite pad. But for this test sample, I'm gonna use 180 grit just to give me an idea if you're gonna see these lines or not. And if you don't see the lines with 180 grit sandpaper, then that's a good thing. So just kind of degreasing it, cleaning up the edges. That way, hopefully I don't get any fish eyes. But hopefully that old black paint that I got works and these turn out nice. It's this like armor coat, same as Rustoleum or Tremclad. It's rust paint, but it's all I got. It's black and it might work. So got this all scuffed up, cleaned up, taped up. Let's go ahead, lay down some light mist coats of black and see if it works or not.
Alright guys, while I'm waiting for the headlight to tack up, let's go ahead and lay down the second coat of primer.
There you have it. Second coat of primer is on the headlights. That'll be good enough to give us an idea of how the headlight covers are gonna look with the trim once we go to mount them on top. So we'll let that dry. So I'm gonna do one last coat, make sure that I get the black to cover up the lenses as thick as possible. Then I'll let them dry up, I'll unmask them, bolt them to the car, and we can finally see how the new headlight covers are gonna look. Alright guys, let's go ahead, pull the tape off the headlights, and then once these headlight covers are dry, we'll go ahead and bolt them back on.
Perfect.
Alright guys, so it's the next day. The paint is fully cured, fully dry. Turned out really well. This is the back side of the parts. And yeah, I've gone ahead, I've removed all the masking tape and the paper. Check it out. So this is the face side of the temporary headlight covers, but it should give me a really good idea of how they're gonna look on the car once I get the new lexan. So I think they look pretty amazing. So it's a good test that I did using the 180 grit. You can't see any of the scratch marks. So I know that that works. I'm gonna get a better tape for doing my border when I get my real lexan. That way my lines are nice and crisp and I don't have any blurriness. But yeah, pretty stoked with how they turned out. Let's go ahead and bolt them onto the car and see how they look. Headlight covers are all done. Let's go ahead and bolt them up. Woo-wee! I think I did a pretty good job. What do you guys think? That looks way better than what the car came with. Before, the lexan covers were all the way down to the bottom here. Just hideous, didn't have a border. So again, these are just the temporary ones. Just trying to get an idea of how they're gonna look once I get my new lexan. But for temporary ones, they turned out pretty good. Comment below, let me know what you guys think. Right now, I just got them bolted up with 2 bolts up at the top. I might go ahead and add another 2 down here because I really don't want to do urethane. I want these to be removable. That way if I ever get rock chips or anything like that. But I think those are looking pretty wicked. I'm pretty stoked with how those turned out. All right guys, we're making some great progress on the car. Got the engine cover back on, and today I finished up the headlight covers. So that's looking pretty slick. Well guys, that's going to be it for part 2 of the DIY headlight covers. Thanks for watching. Make sure to like, subscribe, and we'll catch you guys next time. Ciao, ciao.